Hello there, Lunar Squadron, welcome back to the channel. Now, almost exactly 5 months ago, we released a video here on the channel talking about the Nintendo Switch and our concerns about LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, mainly if it was the cause for the delays up to this point. Now, last week, TT Games turned the world upside down for better or for worse, that's up to you, when they released Gameplay Trailer 2 for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. Now, many people since have noticed many issues, glitches, frame rate issues within this trailer, and that got us thinking once again about this game's potential performance on the Nintendo Switch when the game releases next spring. Now, before we get into this discussion, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. Also, we have a brand new Discord server, and we would love for you to join us there. It's a great way to get a hold of us and just talk to us on a regular basis, interact with the community. We have a great time. The link to join that Discord will be down below in the description. Also, get a hold of us on social media at Lunar Squadron on both Twitter and Instagram to stay up to date on all things Lunar Squadron on social media. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our discussion and talk about, will LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga even run on the Nintendo Switch when it releases? Alright guys, so last week, Gameplay Trailer 2 for LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga was revealed at Opening Night Live as a part of Gamescom 2021, and I want to preface this by saying that this gameplay trailer seems to have been captured on Xbox hardware, whether that is Xbox Series X or Xbox One or Xbox One X. We're not certain. We would assume that it was captured on next-gen hardware on Series X, as that is the most high-powered technology that they can capture gameplay footage on. So we are going to assume that all of the gameplay trailer footage was captured on Xbox Series X. Now, what did we find, Andreas?
Yeah, so if you look throughout this trailer, and a lot of people have already mentioned this before, this isn't breaking news or anything, this is kind of already out there, but there are several points in this latest trailer where, just like Nick said, even running on the best hardware, there are still glitches popping up in this game. For example, if you guys have seen what I'm going to call the Battle of Glitchinosis, guys, there is all sorts of stuff going on in here. You see Mace Windu running to go decapitate our favorite bounty hunter, Jango Fett. Yes, that's right, he's our favorite. And as he's doing so, there are random droid pieces, bits, arms, chests, heads that are just floating in midair. And a lot of people have pointed out that, this isn't something that is quite normal, and it doesn't look to be quite normal. Now, of course, there are still 8 months for this game to get ironed out. There are 8 months for these devs to work on these issues and sort them out. However, if you look 8 months ago to the last trailer, there were some issues as well. And in the past 8 months, they have not been ironed out. Right, Nick?
No. So, about a year ago when Gameplay Trailer 1 was released, not even 8 months, it was almost a year ago. We went about a year in between gameplay trailers. It's even worse than 8 months. But I think the main takeaway from the first gameplay trailer was just how framey it was. You have that scene with Rey jumping across the old Death Star ruins that got super framey. You have the scene in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon with Han and Chewie, and that is one of the more framey scenes I've seen in a gameplay trailer in my entire life. I'm honestly surprised they even showed that off. Now, frame rate issues weren't the only issues with this gameplay trailer last year. We have issues on Utapau where Obi-Wan is fighting General Grievous, and we get a brief snippet of it, and in the background you'll see very unresponsive AI, which was also something that was very noticeable in this gameplay trailer that was revealed last week.
And that doesn't even begin to conclude all the issues that we've seen with this most recent trailer. My personal favorite is the Wookiee catamaran, which you can see on Kashyyyk, that is flying sideways across the screen. It's not even completely rendered You can barely even tell what ship it is. Honestly, it looks like this game, as of right now, between these glitches and the fact that they've only shown off about 3 seconds, 4 seconds at a time of footage of actual gameplay on the newest hardware, suggests that this game is really going to struggle on the Switch.
Yeah, I think in conclusion, this gameplay trailer, which is captured on newer hardware, it's captured on Xbox hardware, really makes us concerned for the Nintendo Switch because this game is struggling on this hardware, and we know from previous games in the past, the Switch has numerous frame rate drop issues. Just take a simple trip to Google, search Nintendo Switch frame rate drops, and you will find numerous articles, numerous Reddit threads detailing people's issues with frame rate drops on the Nintendo Switch. Now, of course, that is to be expected because the Nintendo Switch is a portable device. The technology within the Switch is just, it's not that great, to be honest, because it's portable, it's small. They can only fit so much within the hardware, so there's only so much you can expect out of this hardware. Think back to the Outer Worlds on the Switch. I mean, just take a look at gameplay from PS4 and Xbox One, and then compare that to Nintendo Switch. The resolution is so much worse. There's frame rate drops. The graphics are worse. The rendering is worse. The world is not as alive. It's a lot more empty, and it's not just games like the Outer Worlds. You see it in old Assassin's Creed ports. You even see it in LEGO games. Take a look at LEGO Marvel Superhero 2, where this cutscene of an explosion going off near the beginning of the game. It runs so smooth on PS4, and then when you see it on Nintendo Switch, it looks awful, honestly. It's really framey, and it's really concerning. I mean, we've detailed this in the past when we talked about Republic Commando and whether or not you should even buy that game on the Nintendo Switch or just play it on a PS4 or Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought the Nintendo Switch version of Republic Commando was near unplayable. I know a lot of people have been able to grit their teeth through the experience and play through it, but when you play the PS5 version and see how relatively more smooth it is, it's hard to then go back to that Switch version. And here's where things kind of get a bit sticky for me, is a lot of people are going to point at, for example, different LEGO games and different experiences with LEGO games that they've had in the past. And for sure, you're probably going to tell us, Lunar Squadron, I've had an experience on this LEGO game, let's just say LEGO Jurassic World, and it was fine. I was able to play through the game. It had a bit of issues here and there, but on the whole, I was able to play through it. Here's our problem. That's LEGO Jurassic World. That's whatever game has come in the past. This is something different that we're talking about here. This is a game which they have time and time again called the biggest and best, not just LEGO game ever made before, Star Wars game ever made before. Oh, and compound that with issues that we've had getting this game stood up on any console, let alone the Switch, any console, for what will have been 3 years by the time we actually hit release for this game. So this game is not only going to have issues potentially on the best hardware out there, what we're concerned about is the worst hardware out there. And when you take a look at that small list of consoles, platforms that this game is going to be on that appear at the end of that trailer, when you take a look at that Switch logo, I would be very concerned before I put my $60 or $70 towards purchasing this game for that platform. All of these things raise red flags for me. They should raise red flags for you as well.
Yeah, I think to kind of wrap this all together before we kind of get into our expectations for this game on the Switch, I think pretty much what we are trying to say is that the Nintendo Switch is known for having performance issues. It is especially known for having performance issues with third-party titles. For whatever reason, Nintendo just knows how to get their first-party titles to work extremely well for the most part on the Switch. Now, of course, Breath of the Wild did have some issues in the past with frame rate drops, but
oh yeah,
this console has frame rate drops that is not like frame rate drops or performance issues on other consoles. Now, when you take a look at LEGO Star Wars gameplay trailers and see that this gameplay trailer is captured on supposedly Xbox hardware and is having glitches and bugs and frame rate drops and performance issues, the logical concern here is how the hell is this game really going to run on the Nintendo Switch, and is it really even going to run at all? That is a big concern, like you said. Now, as far as expectations go with this game on Nintendo Switch, I'm not expecting a whole lot. I am expecting really an extreme watered down, lower resolution, maybe even less empty than it already appears to be, version of this game on the Nintendo Switch, and that is just really looking at the history of ports from other games, other consoles onto the Nintendo Switch, such as Outer Worlds, like I mentioned earlier. The resolution was significantly worse, there were more glitches, more bugs, more frame rate drops, the world was even more empty. There is history here, there is precedent here to expect that this game, which is already seeing performance issues on these more mainline consoles, to have even more issues on the Nintendo Switch. It's just the way that it is. It's simple fact. We're not saying that the Switch is a bad console, because for some people, that's their only console. I mean, the portability is fantastic with the Switch. It's great for that. But when it comes to performance, there are multiple instances where the Switch is just not up to par.
You know, this whole situation reminds me of Cyberpunk. Like, this feels like Cyberpunk all over again. Except,
oh my God, please don't say that.
I think this might have the potential to even be worse if you look at the marketing here. Now, think back to when Cyberpunk was showing those snippets of its game where it had, you know, the PS4 logo in the corner, and then, you know, it swiped across and then showed the PS5 footage. That was a game that showed us, I mean, what they were purporting to be, how the game ran on old gen hardware, albeit it ended up to be not anywhere close to what they were reporting. We are now in a situation where a studio hasn't shown how this thing runs on old gen hardware. Frankly, I don't think we've seen how it runs truly on next gen hardware either. And I think where this kind of goes to a big picture for me is the same thing that we've been asking for all along, which is transparency from this studio, transparency from the execs. I know they want to show a polished product, but even still, these 3-second snippets that they're releasing have been torn apart by the fan base. There are issues left, right, and center with a lot of these snippets, and a little statement would go a long way here. Instead of pretending like everything is perfect for the third year in a row, instead of just sitting back in silence, expecting everyone to buy the game when it releases, I'd love to hear a statement saying, you know, how much they're struggling. Especially, we know, like, we're not dumb. We know that this game is struggling on old gen hardware, and we especially know that this game is struggling on the Switch, because this just does not add up. Like, this whole equation does not add up to a game that is running butter smooth, no glitches on the Nintendo Switch. There is no single reality where that is the case right now.
The last thing I want to say is, you want to know what's scary about this thing, bringing up Cyberpunk, is this is the gameplay trailer. This is the gameplay footage that they're willing to show us, right? TT Games are willing to show it, and it has these glitches, these frame rate issues, these performance issues. Think back to Cyberpunk last year when they were showing us those ultra polished cutscenes and gameplay where it looked so good, and the performance was fantastic, and the graphics looked great, and they were showing us that. What are they not showing us with Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a potential nightmare. Now, what should you make with this information? What we don't want you guys to make with this information is to start harassing devs and this, that, and the other. Like, that sort of toxicity is not what we're trying to start here. What we are trying to start is a dialogue that hopefully results in some transparency from the execs at this studio, because that is necessary at this point to set expectations with consumers who are spending real money on this game. Now, going forward, this might mean that we have to give devs a lot of patience, because we've seen right now from what they're willing to show that there are real issues with getting this game stood up on any hardware, let alone Switch, PS4, PS5. It is simply going to be a challenge for these devs to wrap this whole thing up within the next 8 months and hit their target. So I guess the message here is, execs, be a bit more transparent. Devs, best of luck with the next 8 months, and I really hope that you're able to pull this thing off so that people aren't going to get ripped off when they're buying this game on Switch.
I think another thing we're trying to say is we're not trying to convince you to not buy the Nintendo Switch version, because some people just want the portability. They don't really care about the performance issues. That's something they can get past. We're not trying to dog on the Switch or tell you like it's not good enough. We are just trying to help you set realistic expectations before you spend $60 on this game. Because the last thing we want are a bunch of people going out and buying this game for $60 and then being extremely disappointed. Because that's one of the worst feelings in the world, when you buy a game and you're extremely excited for it, and then it disappoints and you're out $64. And I say that as I am staring Cyberpunk 2077 down on my desk. I'm looking right at it. It's sitting right there.
I was gonna ask if you were holding up your copy of Cyberpunk.
I don't. It's buried under all the other games. I don't even want to give it the effort to go get it. So we're just trying to set more realistic expectations on what to expect. We're not trying to dog on the Switch. Andreas and I own Switches. We have multiple games on Switches. Like,
we're probably going to buy this game on Switch and try it out and let you guys know how it's going to be, because we don't want anybody getting ripped off here. Like, but I can't wait to test
being
this
realistic,
to see if it works.
There are probably going to be huge performance issues with this game if it lives up to this super ambitious, huge game that they're touting it as. That's just the way that it is. So just be realistic with your expectations.
So with all that said, guys, let us know what you think about all of the most recent glitch discoveries, frame rate drop discoveries in the latest Gamescom gameplay trailer of LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and let us know what you think about this game's promise of performing well on the Nintendo Switch. Is it going to work? Is it going to blow our minds and beat our expectations? Or is it going to fall flat on its face and rip off a bunch of consumers, replicating the disappointment of CD Projekt Red's release of Cyberpunk on the PS4? We'd love to hear what you guys think, and we're so glad to have the opportunity to share our thoughts with you in this video. Also, as always, you are all welcome to subscribe to the channel. Please feel welcome to enlist in Lunar Squadron. It's as simple as hitting that little red subscriber button and the bell notification button right on next to it. It's going to let you know every single time that we upload. We are so very close to 2,000 subscribers, a milestone that neither Nick nor I thought that we could ever hit this fast. So we would absolutely love the support. Go ahead, enlist if you do enjoy the content. And you're all welcome to join our new Discord server. It's a great place to talk to both Nick and I, and with other Lunar Squadron members. Everybody has been so very welcoming, so make sure to hop in that Discord by clicking on the link in the description. And finally, you can always be assured that you will get LEGO Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and gaming news faster than anywhere else on our social media. You can stay in touch with us on Twitter and on Instagram at Lunar Squadron. Well, Nick, that's going to do it for today. We will see you all next time.